Iron Man 3 is a 2013 American superhero film based on the Marvel comic book character of the same name. Produced by Marvel Studios and distributed by Walt Disney Studios Motion Pictures, it is a sequel to Iron Man in 2008 and Iron Man 2 in 2010, and the seventh film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The film was directed by Shane Black from a screenplay he co-wrote with Drew Pearce, and stars Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark Iron Man, alongside Gwyneth Paltrow, Jon Cheadle, Guy Pearce, Rebecca Hall, James Badge Dale, Jon Favreau, and Ben Kingsley. In Iron Man 3, Tony Stark wrestles with the ramifications of the events of the Avengers during a national terrorism campaign on the United States led by the mysterious Mandarin. After the release of Iron Man 2 in May 2010, director Favreau chose not to return for a third film. Black was hired to write and direct the sequel in February 2011, working with Pearce to make the script more character-centric, focused on thriller elements, and use concepts from Warren Ellis's Extremis comic book story arc. The film's supporting cast, including Kingsley, Pearce and Hall, were brought on throughout April and May 2012. Filming took place from May 23 to December 17, 2012, primarily at the EUE and Screen Jones studio in Wilmington, North Carolina. Additional filming took place around North Carolina as well as in Florida, Los Angeles and China. An extended version of the film specifically for Chinese audiences was created. 17 companies provided the film's visual effects. Iron Man 3 premiered at the Le Grand Ray Cinema in Paris on April 14, 2013, and was released in the United States on May 3rd, and is the first film in Phase 2 of the MCU. It received positive reviews from critics, with praise for its action sequences and Downey's performance. The film was the box office success, grossing over $1.2 billion worldwide, making it the second highest grossing film of 2013 and the 16th film to gross over $1 billion. It finished its theatrical run as the fifth highest grossing film of all time, while its opening weekend at the sixth highest of all time. The film received Best Visual Effects nominations at the Academy Awards and the BAFTA Awards. The cast includes a returning Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark Iron Man, an Avenger and self-described genius, billionaire playboy and philanthropist in mechanical suits of armor of his own invention. Stark now struggles to come to terms with his near-death experience in the Avengers, suffering from anxiety attacks. Gwyneth Paltrow as Virginia Pepper Potts, Stark's girlfriend, longtime associate and current CEO of Stark Industries. Don Cheadle as James Rhodey Rhodes, or Iron Patriot, Stark's best friend and liaison between Stark Industries and the US Air Force in the Department of Acquisitions. Rhodes operates the redesigned, upgraded War Machine armor, taking on the American flag-inspired color scheme similar to the Iron Patriot armor from the comics. Guy Pearce as Aldrich Killian, the creator of the Extremis virus and founder and owner of the science and development organization Advanced Idea Mechanics, who adopts the mantle of the Mandarin as his own. Killian develops Extremis to cure his own debilitating disability. In addition to his regenerative healing qualities, he has superhuman strength and the ability to generate extreme heat. Prolonged exposure to Extremis also grants him the ability to breathe fire. Rebecca Hall as Maya Hansen, a geneticist whose work has helped Killian create Extremis. Jon Favreau as Harold Happy Hogan, Tony Stark's former bodyguard and chauffeur, who now serves as Stark Industries' head of security department. And Ben Kingsley as Trevor Slattery, a British actor whom Killian hired to portray the Mandarin, a terrorist persona in jammed television broadcasts in which he is depicted as the leader of the international terrorist organization, the Ten Rings. Director Shane Black explained Ben Kingsley's Mandarin is not Chinese in the film as he is in the comics. In order to avoid the Fu Manchu stereotypes, we're not saying he is Chinese. We're saying he, in fact, draws a cloak around him of Chinese symbols and dragons because it represents his obsessions with Sun Tzu in various ancient arts of warfare that he studied. The filmmakers also cited that Colonel Kurtz from Apocalypse Now as an influence on the character. The videos where the Mandarin gives historical background to the attacks expressed how it emerged as a product of the think tank of people trying to create a modern terrorist. Thus, the Mandarin represents every terrorist in a way, from South American insurgency tactics to videos of Osama bin Laden. Now, some themes and analysis in the film I found. Now, Iron Man 3 focuses on contemporary US foreign policy and its consequences. Like the first Iron Man film, it is about a military-industrial complex. The main antagonist, Killian, tries to take over the US government and capitalize on war terror with the decoy villain actor, the Mandarin. The supposed looming menace distracts the public from Killian's actions with a narrative of a constant threat that also makes war profitable. The Mandarin, a covering-up adversary that is otherwise non-threatening, is a take on America's xenophobia towards Middle Easterns. How people's fear is taken advantage of to create and pass harmful policies. The Mandarin's characteristics are what the population expects from a terrorist, such as a large beard, army pants, and comments he gives to the media that condemns the US. Another part of the trend is the post-9/11 superhero films consisting of vulnerable, weak superheroes and complex antagonists with realistic motivations. In the movie, Stark is showing post-traumatic stress disorder, and like in real life, he denies that he even has it at all. Stark enacts its symptoms such as anxiety attacks, hypervigilance, frequent nightmares, and the inability to be in public. This deviates from most portrayals, not only of superheroes, but also strong male leads in general, where they are not traumatized from their perilous situations. Now, with the help of its charismatic lead and some impressive action sequences, and even a few surprises, Iron Man 3 is a witty, entertaining adventure and a strong addition to the Marvel canon. Now, after the disappointment that was Iron Man 2 in 2010, this third Iron Man film really does bounce back, as the character returns refreshed and ready for action in this more spirited third installment. This also benefits immeasurably from the irreverent Quicksilver humour of co-writer and director Shane Black, who of course worked with Robert Downey Jr. on Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. There is a darker and more serious tone, though, than its predecessors. As I mentioned in the themes and analysis, this film deals a lot more with post-traumatic stress disorder. Here we see a vulnerable Tony Stark, not his usual brash self. He's having anxiety attacks, he's having nightmares, and he just shows a sort of more vulnerable, weaker side to his character. Also the fact that we're now dealing with a terrorist organization, of course here represented by the Mandarin, which almost plays exactly like into real life, particularly at the time with Osama bin Laden and Al-Qaeda. In saying that, though, there is still all the usual big CGI effects and huge action sequences, as well as the funny one-liners. But there is something a little bit emotionally lacking in this film comparative to the first Iron Man, which is still the best in the series. In the movie, Stark befriends a bullied 8-year-old boy played by Ty Simpkins, who becomes his tag-along and sometimes savior. Stark no longer, though, needs to be in the Iron Man suit. He's able to operate the thing remotely when needed. And this movie is almost like that too in some ways for me. It's a decent superhero, big blockbuster with some more serious themes, but there's rather remote and vaguely second-hand, even with Black's trademark attitude and humour here. I found the film was more or less taking care of itself, almost offering roughly half of what the first films did. I mean, it was just going to work anyway. It's about Iron Man, and really you just had to sort of follow the formula, even though they did really try hard to make it a bit deeper, as it were. Guy Pearce is a fantastic actor, and he really does try his best with Aldrich Killian, although it's a character that I felt there could have been more with. And I did quite enjoy, though, Ben Kingsley as Trevor Slattery. Of course, initially you think he's the main antagonist in the film. He later just turns out to be a cowardly actor in the background. And of course, Kingsley, being the kind of actor he is, pulls this off perfectly. Like I said, there's nothing fundamentally wrong with the film. I just kind of found it was just a sort of filler in the Iron Man series, just to add a third one to the MCU, as it were. Good, entertaining, with some strong acting and strong themes as well. Iron Man 3 won't necessarily blow you away, but certainly does entertain. Iron Man 3 gets a 7.5 out of 10.